Yes, if you think of all the apparently strange ideas that are floating around in modern physics, one of the most striking is the theory of the so-called Big Bang, which, simplifying grossly, is the idea that at some time in the past, appears to be the case, I think this is pretty well experimentally certain now, that the universe was packed into a much smaller amount of space, if you like. And if you extrapolate in a natural way backwards, you find it goes back to a finite point in time. So on the face of it, it is as if the universe suddenly popped into existence, whatever that might mean, a certain number of 15,000 million years ago, whatever. Now the question is, how plausible is that? I mean, 30 years or so, when I was involved in a while for sort of serious science-religion discussions, because of my own interest in science, particularly things like the theory of the Big Bang, the origin of the universe, I was often asked to talk about this, and in the context of this science and religion discussion, because religious people, or some religious people, want to say the origin of the universe was some miracle by God. This book of Genesis seems to imply this. And the question is, how does one reconcile these two different things? Now, one obvious level, which is interesting because it turns out to be wrong, is that you might think, well, how could a universe be suddenly pop into being? Because conservation of energy seems a difficulty. I mean, if the universe comes out of nothing, whatever that might mean, you ask, well, what's the universe? What's the energy of nothing? It's presumably nothing. It's hard to see how nothing can have any energy. On the other hand, if you look at the universe around you, you can see lots of energy everywhere, positive energy. And you think the energy of the whole universe is full of all this hot stuff and moving around. It must be absolutely colossal, you see. So you say, how could it possibly be that you could ever have a natural origin of the universe? It has to be some sort of divine act. That's what people tend to think, including many theologians, I might say, historically. It's absolutely fascinating, this, because it turns out the assumption that the energy of the universe is some big number is actually not true. If you put together quantum theory and Einstein's theory of general relativity, as far as it's possible to do this, it's not a finished job by any means, you find that under very general circumstances, the actual total energy of the universe is actually precisely zero. So that's amazing. The energy of no universe at all is presumably zero, and the energy of the absolute universe is actually also zero. So what it means, it doesn't cost anything to create a universe, you see, because now this seems very bizarre on the first, it's totally counterintuitive, but it's true. And so reason is always positive energy we see around us. There's a very big negative energy associated with the gravitational energy. The gravitational energy is an attraction, and if you add up, say, the kinetic energy, the motion energy of something, and you add in the gravitational field that it's causing it and causes it, you find the total add up to zero. And that's always true under certain circumstances, obviously. So this is one of these good examples of a sort of thing you can start discussing in science and religion. It's sort of a very crude sort of level, whether or not you believe in miracles and divine intervention. But it ends up being tied up with a very quite subtle and very important result from certain theoretical physics investigations. It's only just one thing, but it just goes to show us the world's a mysterious place. And it's one reason why I always enjoyed discussions with theologians, actually, because it did tend the mind to all certain, view of the world, whether or not you thought it was could be consistent. And yeah, you can. So you can believe the universe came into being without necessarily having to believe in the divine being who produced it. Of course, but it always raises the question: well, what was there before the universe came into being, etc., etc. It was an endless chain of interesting questions. But it's a fascinating field of study.